Alright, hello there, Math 20-1. We're just going to get going here with Chapter 4. I'm going to follow these lessons very similarly here. The couple things here you should note is that if I'm going to use this kind of dotted line here, you see the top left corner, that's just kind of what I'm talking about at the time. I'm trying to write as neat as I can. I'm trying to write on an iPad here so you guys can get recorded. It's not real good. The microphone also picks up my breathing, so I apologize for that. I feel like I'm out of breath half the time, but I promise you I'm okay. It'd be a lot more fun teaching you guys in class. This lesson here, we're just reviewing factoring, lesson 1. Okay, it should go pretty quick. There's a lot of stuff we learned from last year, right? Remember, we always are going to do what's known as greatest common factor, factoring by taking out or removing a common factor, difference of squares. I think I've told you guys this 100 times, and I know you don't remember, so we're going to review that as well. There's also factoring by inspection. Okay, this is kind of our T-chart, but we should be able to do our T-chart in our head a little bit right now. And factoring by grouping. That's for when we have 4 terms, right? So it's when we have 4 terms. Is kind of by the factoring by grouping. All right, we're going to need that skill for the next lesson, which will be factoring by decomposition. Okay, remember again, we're going to have to make sure that we know all of our little words, right? Inspection, difference of squares, right? Common factor, everything like that. Okay, so I'll try to write as neat as I can. What we're going to do is we're going to start here with class example 1, okay, and A. So class example 1A here is 15x cubed minus 5x. We're going to take out the greatest common factor. So remember, we look into both of these. What is common amongst both of those? Well, the common is 5x squared. Sorry, my writing will get better as I go, I promise. We factor that out, we see what's left. Well, this is going to be 3 because 3 times 5 is 15. X minus, since I took out a 5x squared, I'm dividing by 5x. What's left there is a 1. Remember, don't forget that 1. That 1 there is very critical. Just because you factored it out doesn't mean it's gone forever. That 1 has to stay. All right, sliding over to B, we look. Okay, this has got 3 terms, so whatever we're finding has to be in all 3 terms. If we look there, the only thing in all 3 terms there is 4. We factor out 4. That leaves me with 2p cubed minus p squared minus 1. Okay, there we go. Okay, so 2p cubed minus p squared minus 1, right? Again, we want to take the p out, but we can't because there isn't a p in this term. Since there's no p in this, whoa, I can do that, that's crazy. Since there's no p in this term, right, we're not going to be able to factor any p's out. All right, let's move on to C here. Okay, again, we're going to look and see what is the same in both those terms. So I'm going to look here. You should notice that in both those terms we have a y plus 2, and we have a 3 that can be factored out. There isn't a y in the front of both of those, so we're going to factor out both 3 and y plus 2 at once. So 3 and y plus 2 get left in front. Then we see what's left over, right? So if we look, what's left over is just this y, because these got factored out. So it's y minus, because we bring the symbol down. All right, and then we've got 3 here, right? 3 got factored to that 9, so y minus 3, right? So that symbol we brought down just goes here, okay, and it looks like that. So our final answer will look like this. Okay, so 3, y plus 2, y minus 3. So that's greatest common factor. We should be pretty good at that. So every so often I'm going to have to zoom out because I can't write that small. When I do zoom out, this might be a good time for you guys to pause the video, write all these notes out as we go. Okay. Alrighty, my next one, my favorite one here for class example 2, difference of squares. All right, difference of squares. We have to ask ourselves 3 questions. The first question is, can the front term be squared? Square rooted? Yes. Can the back term be square rooted? And the answer is yes. And is it a difference? And the answer is yes. Yes. If you get 3 yeses, that means you can set 2 sets of brackets. 1, 2. Put a positive sign in one, put a negative sign in the other. The order does not matter. And you get an x. Square root the front number, put it in the front, and then square root the back number and put it in the back. So it looks like that. X plus 9 times x minus 9. Alrighty. Second one here, we've got 25a squared minus 49. Again, ask ourselves the same questions. Can we square root the front one? Yes. Can we square the back one? Yes. Is there a different sign in the middle? Yes. Again, hence the name difference of squares. So we set up two sets of brackets. Put a positive sign and a negative sign in there. Square root the front one, which is 5a. And square root the back one, which is 7. So then our answer is 5a plus 7 and 5a minus 7. This is how we factor. Remember, we're building skills for the next chunk. All right, next section we go, okay, we're going to factor, check the front here. Can I square root that? Yes. Can I square root that? Is this a negative sign? The answer is no. So this is not factorable. Not factorable. All right, not factorable. So we go to the last one here. Okay, we check it. Can I square root the front term? Yes. Can I square root the back term? Yes. Do I have a difference? Yes. So let's set up our brackets. Two sets, plus and a minus. This is going to be 4t, and this is also 4t, and we're going to have the square root of 64, which is 8 and 8. So we get 8 and 8, right? So again, that's what it looks like for difference of squares. Again, I'll zoom out so you guys can pause the video, copy these down if you need to, all right, if you haven't already, keep up. Alrighty. Ooh, shouldn't have done that. Sorry guys, I will erase that. Okay. So now we're going to get into inspection. Alright. We're going to factor by inspection. This has to do with a little bit of our T-charts we used to do, right? And so now we're going to be able to think of these T-charts in our head, right? So we have to remember to multiply to the back number and add to the front number. What's important is since this number here is 1, we don't have to do decomposition, we just get to do inspection. So remember, we want to multiply to 30 and add to 11. So what numbers multiply to 30 and add to 11? The answers are going to be what? Well, take a second, think about it. The two numbers multiply to 30 and add to 11 are positive 5 and positive 6. Right? We don't need to show the in-between steps anymore. We're in 20-1. Okay, this is where we're going to just use our brains, do the T-chart in our head, right? Remember, when I say T-chart, what I mean is the T-chart would look like this. Multiply to 30, add to 11, it'd be 5 and 6. Add to 11, so we'd use 5 and 6, right? So we're going to have those in-between steps, but we're learning to skip steps and apply mathematics properly, okay? So next one here, we're going to think about this. We need two numbers that multiply to negative 30 and add to negative 1, right? Add to negative 1 because of this, okay? So negative 30, negative 1. Again, we check that front number. As long as that front number is 1, we can do this, or we skip all the steps, okay? So we're going to split this into two brackets. All right, we've got b in the front here, and we got to figure out what numbers go in the back. So I've got negative 30, so I'm going to think the numbers are probably negative 6. And 5. Negative 6 times 5 is negative 30. Negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. So it's minus 6 plus 5. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Alright, we're going to have this next one here, which is x squared minus 4x plus 48. Okay, we need numbers that multiply to 48 and add to negative 4. So at the top of our head, we're going to think, okay, what numbers multiply to 48? We have 4 and 12. Those can equal negative 4. We have 6 and 8. Those can equal negative 4. We have 2 and 24. Those also can't equal negative 4, right? I can't think of any ones on the top of my head, but my guess is that this is not possible. So this is not possible or not factorable. All right. Ooh. Let's try D here. Okay. All right, so we're looking at D here. I noticed that front number is not 1, but I look and I notice something. What do you notice with this question is that it's got in all three terms, it's got a 3 and an x. So we're going to take that 3x out first and see what that leaves us with. The x squared minus 7x plus 12. Sorry, my brain just stopped there for a second. So I'm going to get 7x plus 12. I need to go positive 12 and negative 7. So positive 12 and negative 7 is going to be negative 3 and negative 4, right? What numbers are negative 3 and negative 4, right? So now I've got 3x. We just bring the x down, minus 3. and x minus 4. Again, the reason I'm bringing this x down is because that's what's out front and it's got a 1 in front of it, right? That x just automatically comes that, and that becomes because of patterns that happens, right? We practiced these patterns lots last year. All right, so those are our answers there. Again, if you need to pause the video here to check that out, write it out. I'm sorry it's not the most neat writing, but I've definitely written worse before. Okay. All right, we're going to factor by grouping. Okay, we're factored by grouping. So grouping is what we use when we have 4 terms. Okay, grouping is called when we use 4 terms. You'll notice both these questions have 4 terms. As soon as we see 4 terms, first of all, we check for greatest common factor. There isn't one amongst all of them. Then we're going to break these up into 2 separate groups, like so. All right, so our front group we're going to factor. In that front group, I can take an x out, and that leaves me with x minus 5. In my back group, I can take 2 out, that leaves me with x minus 5. Usually, if you've done things properly, these two things end up the exact same. So we're going to factor that out now. That comes out to the front. X minus 5 and x plus 2. Right? That x plus 2 comes from, this is what's left here when I take the x minus 5 out. And this is what's left here when I take the x minus 5 out. Is that 2? So those both, this comes here and that comes there. Right? So that's what's going to happen there. So let's try the other one here. Okay, same thing. Check for greatest common factor. Initially, you might say they all divide by 3, but this one does not divide by 3, right? So there's not a y here, so I can't take out anything. So we're going to put in our brackets. We've got 4 terms. We're going to try factoring by grouping and see what happens. We're going to put these in groups, right? And the front one here, I can take out a 3y. Take a 3y, and that leaves me with 2y plus 3. Right, the back one here, the only thing I can take out is 1. I'm going to write that 1 there just as a placeholder. And again, we notice that these two are exactly the same. Factor them to the front. And we're going to be left with 3y plus 1. Again, that's factoring by grouping. This is all review from last year. Okay, these are some things that are going to be tough. If you are having issues and you don't get enough videos, you're trying to get a hold of me, remember to, you can always you can always chat me online. We can always talk via Google Hangouts. Just send me a request and I'll let you, or an email, and we'll kind of set a time or something like that. Okay, there's some of this will come back to you. There's also things you can Google any of these terms, right? You can Google any of these terms and they'll actually go through exactly how these work again. Okay, and they'll show you everything. So let's make sure we know how to do that, okay? All right, let's go to page 2 here. Alrighty, so this is kind of something I showed you guys. Last year, we wrote out a little chart, and this is basically what we did. Okay, we did this chart, except it's a little bit worse, alright? One thing to note is you always want to check to see. So the first thing you do is look for a common factor, or greatest common factor is what we called it. Okay, then you say if it's got 2 terms, 3 terms, or 4. Right, if it's got 2, we look for difference of squares. If there isn't different squares, nothing we can do. If it's got 4 teams, we're going to try the grouping, that last thing we learned. Alright, what we're going to do with mostly is these trinomials. Alright, trinomials for most of all. If we have the a equals 1, so there's no number in front of the x or the letter, whatever letter it is, then we just can use an expection. That's where we think about, we multiply to c, right? Multiply to c and add to b. Right, remember b might be positive or negative. If it's not, we're going to do decomposition. Decomposition is covered in the next lesson. All right. Oh, I got to turn it off. Next page. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and check this out. All right, we're going to factor the following. All right, so I look at this here. This is not in the normal order, but it's still going to work just fine. Okay, we look. I have 2 terms. According to that chart last time with 2 terms, I'm going to see, can I square root both of those? And the answer is yes. Can I take the negative? Yes. All right, so it's a difference of squares. So difference of squares, set 2 brackets, positive and negative. 36's square root is 6. Put that in the front of both of those. And 9x squared square root is 3x. 3x. All right, and that's what we get there. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of it. All right, then we can look Ooh, we're gonna actually back up here. Sorry guys, I'm gonna make this a little bit less complicated. Please erase that. I did something wrong. What did I forget to do? Well, I forgot to check for greatest common factor first, right? We got to check for greatest common factor. When we do that, we see the greatest common factor is 9. So we're going to take the 9 out first, and that leaves me with 4 minus x squared. Right, 4 minus x squared. When I get that 4 minus x squared left out, then I see the difference of squares. Now it becomes 9, 2 plus x, and 2 minus x. Sorry about that mistake, but that's, again, we have to do the greatest common factor, then we do the difference of squares. Okay, it's going to make your life a lot easier. All right, this one here, we just got to check. Okay, what we notice here is we have an issue with the x being at the back. All right, since the x is at the back, what we're going to do is we're going to move it to the front. So let's just rewrite this and put it at the front. So we're going to put it at the front here. Negative x squared. Okay, put the 3x in the middle because it's where we want it. 3x, right, and plus 28. Okay, so rearrange it to the order we like, but there's still an issue. Remember that this number needs to be 1. Is this not 1? And the answer is no. This is negative 1. So we got to make it 1 by factoring out a negative 1. We can always take a negative 1 out. So let's take a negative 1 out. That's going to change the signs of everything. All right, minus 3x minus 28. Okay, now we're going to use inspection. So we got negative 1 here. Okay, bring our x's down. All right, and we're going to think. We need two numbers that multiply to negative 28 and add to negative 3. So two numbers that multiply to negative 28 and add to negative 3 is going to be negative 7 and 4. So we put in negative 7 and positive 4. All right, does that make sense, you guys? Okay, so one thing to take a look at again is you can pause this video, take a look. All right, go through this assignment. There's quite a few questions, but make sure you check those out. Okay, remember I will be marking your actual on paper assignments that you are going to submit to me with pictures. Make sure you're ready to do those by practicing on these questions and getting them right. Okay, if you're going to write out your little chart of words you need to know. Okay, so words we need to know from this lesson are basically all of these. Okay, so the first one here, common factor. Okay, you need to know difference of squares. You need to know inspection, and you need to know grouping. Those are kind of the main things, right? Make sure you know your difference between binomials and trinomials as well. But common factor, difference of squares, inspection, and grouping. All right, we will get to decomposition in the next lesson. That is pretty much it for today, you guys. Hope the first lesson didn't go too awfully. I know my writing's not great, but you're going to have to just deal with it. Thanks.